Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're really getting into something fascinating. Memory, consciousness, and how you'd possibly manage a past that just, well, it never fades. We're focusing on a young woman, just 17, known as TL in the research. She has one of the rarest conditions studied by science.
That's right. It's called autobiographical hypermnesia.
Which means she can recall almost every single day of her life. Like with calendar precision, it's hard to even imagine. But our mission today isn't just about that perfect recall, amazing as it is. It's about figuring out this central puzzle the research uncovered. How do you take this constant, potentially overwhelming flood of information, basically, total memory, and shape it into a life you can actually live, a life that's, manageable?
And what makes this research so important, really a breakthrough, is the source. We're looking at groundbreaking work from the Paris Brain Institute, published in Neurocase. This isn't just someone telling their story. Researchers actually mapped her mind, revealing this incredibly deliberate, intricate system she uses.
A system for organizing it all.
Exactly, a system that lets her function, well, normally, which is key because others with hypermnesia often struggle. They can get completely paralyzed by the sheer volume of information constantly coming back.
Okay, right. So let's unpack that. The main takeaway seems to be that TL didn't just, get this perfect memory passively.
No!
She somehow became the architect of her own mind. She actually designed this elaborate structure to keep it under control. Is that right?
That's the absolute critical distinction here. So first, let's just be clear on hypermnesia itself.
Okay.
It's this ability to remember personal life events with extreme, almost unbelievable accuracy. We're talking weather, tiny details, things that happened on a specific date, maybe decades ago.
Wow.
And it is incredibly rare. For most people with this condition, the past just plays out constantly, like an endless movie reel they can't turn off. It's involuntary.
Right. But TL, she built something, a memory palace, they called it.
Yes, she constructed this memory palace.
Now, I've heard of that technique, the method of loci. People use it to memorize new stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like placing items in imaginary rooms.
Correct. That's the traditional use.
But TL already had all this memory flooding in involuntarily.
Yeah.
So is her system the same thing? Or is it, I don't know, fundamentally different because she's applying it backwards to memories she already possesses?
That's a great question. It seems to be perhaps a bit of both. The research suggests she might have had this kind of innate organizational drive anyway.
Like a natural tendency to categorize things.
Yeah, a need to sort her experiences spatially, you could say. And then she sort of formalized that instinct, turned it into a conscious, deliberate architecture she calls her memory palace. So it's less about adding new information like the traditional technique,
Right.
and much more about filing the overwhelming amount of information she already had to stop it from just, swamping her thoughts all the time. It's really a kind of defense mechanism she developed.
Wow. So she basically turned what could be a huge psychological burden into this meticulously organized mental library. Okay, can you walk us through how it actually works? What does this library look like inside her head?
The research gives us some really extraordinary detail on this. She describes this primary hub, a central space she calls the White Room.
The White Room, okay.
And it's not just empty space. It's where all her general life memories, her autobiographical stuff, gets systematically filed away. And she often uses these categories. Themed binders, she calls them.
Themed binders?
Yeah.
Like literally?
Metaphorically, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, memories about school might go into a mental binder she's labeled school.
Right.
Family holidays might be in a family vacations binder. And this constant act of sorting, categorizing, labeling, that's how she manages the sheer volume.
It sounds like constant mental work.
Oh, it is. It's continuous mental effort, but it's what prevents the chaos, It stops 50 years worth of, say, random Wednesdays from just popping into her head without warning.
That sounds exhausting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also kind of brilliant. But here's where, for me, it gets really interesting. Because this memory palace, it sounds like it goes beyond just organizing data. It moves into managing emotions.
Absolutely.
We all have difficult memories, right? Memories linked to trauma or pain. How does she file away something truly awful, like a death, without having to relive the raw pain every single time she accesses that mental binder?
That is arguably the most profound finding in this research. Her use of specialized structures specifically for emotional isolation.
Emotional isolation.
Yes, she developed these specific architectural features, mainly chests, to contain memories of painful or traumatic events.
Chests, like
Yeah.
mental treasure chests.
Kind of. The sources specifically mentioned the death of her grandfather. Now, instead of putting that memory in the general family binder where it might constantly trigger overwhelming sadness.
Right, where it's always potentially there.
Exactly. She isolates the event. She mentally places it inside one of these chests. Now, the key thing is the memory itself, the data, it remains perfect. She still recalls the date, the sensory details, everything.
Okay.
But the act of sealing it in the chest seems to, well, dampen the immediate involuntary emotional kickback.
Wait, hang on. Putting a memory in a mental chest.
Hmm.
How does that actually stop the emotion? Is she like cutting the feeling off?
Hmm.
Or just burying it deeper?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The researchers think that by sort of externalizing the memory, placing it into a distinct contained mental object or space,
Mm-hmm.
she gains more conscious, maybe intellectual control over when and how she accesses it. It doesn't seem to erase the feeling associated with the memory.
Okay, so the emotion's still there, just locked away.
Potentially, yes, but it allows her to choose when she opens that chest, metaphorically speaking. She's essentially modulating her limbic system's immediate reaction by inserting this very sophisticated, conscious spatial filter. She's actively redesigning the emotional weight of the memory.
That's incredible. And it wasn't just for trauma, right? The research mentioned other specialized rooms, too.
That's right. She apparently has other custom designed rooms specifically for managing things like anger or even just, long-running personal problems or worries.
It's almost like she built her own internal therapy space,
Mhm.
where the layout, the architecture itself, reflects her emotional landscape and needs.
Precisely. This whole complex system shows that for TL, memory isn't like a hard drive just passively storing files. It's a living dynamic system that needs constant active curation. And the main purpose of this whole architecture seems to be active, ongoing emotional and mental regulation, using space, mental space, as the interface for that control.
And this active control, this regulation, allows her to do something else the research highlighted, something they called mental time travel,
Yes, mental time travel.
which sounds like something out of science fiction, but it goes way beyond just remembering things, doesn't it?
It really does. When most of us remember, say, a trip from 5 years ago, we recall facts, maybe some images, a general feeling.
All right, it's kind of fuzzy sometimes.
Exactly. But TL's ability, possibly enhanced by her organizational system, lets her actively relive past events. And apparently she can even imagine future events with the same kind of extreme sensory richness and detail.
So she's not just remembering, she's fully transported back,
Yeah.
experiencing the sights, sounds, smells, the temperature, the emotions, like it's happening right now.
That's how it's described. This capacity for total immersion, this mental time travel, is really crucial for understanding her unique consciousness. It's not just data retrieval. It's more like running a simulation. And the fact that she can have this incredibly vivid reliving experience, but also systematically organize it all, well, it suggests a really deep connection between how we structure our personal history and how we construct our sense of self, our identity.
That makes sense. The way you organize your past shapes who you feel you are today.
Absolutely. And furthermore, this intense level of spatial organization, taking abstract things like dates, emotions, events, and mapping them onto physical seeming rooms, binders, chests, it led the researchers down another interesting path.
Oh, what was that?
They started exploring a possible link to synesthesia.
Synesthesia. You mean like when people see colors for sounds or taste words?
Exactly, that kind of cross-sensory experience. The researchers proposed that TL's technique, her mental architecture, shares some characteristics with synesthesia. Think about it. Synesthesia maps one kind of sensory input onto another, right? Sound to color, for example.
Mhm.
Well, TL is essentially mapping abstract information, her life events, her emotions onto concrete, physical, visual, and spatial coordinates in her mind.
Ah, I see. So she's linking abstract concepts to a spatial map, much like synesthesia links separate senses.
Precisely. Her ability to make these abstract memories concrete through this mental architecture provides a really fascinating parallel to how a synesthetic brain connects concepts that are usually kept separate.
Okay, so stepping back, what does all this mean for, the rest of us, those of us who definitely forget where we parked the car?
Right.
It seems like TL's case shows that having this incredibly deep, specific memory doesn't have to mean overload or paralysis.
That's a key point.
Her experience kind of shifts our understanding, doesn't it?
And her
It proves the human mind has this capacity to actively shape, modulate, organize huge amounts of very specific personal data.
It really
It
does.
suggests the control mechanism, the filing system, might be even more important than just the raw storage capacity itself.
Uh-huh.
She found a way to manage her identity, control her emotional state, not by deleting the past, but by designing the absolute perfect place to put it.
I think the most surprising thing here really isn't just the scale of her memory, it's the elegance, the ingenuity of her solution. She effectively engineered her own consciousness to cope with it.
Yeah.
She turned what could have been an incredible biological burden into this meticulously curated personal archive. Every event, every feeling, accounted for and filed away either neatly in a themed binder or locked securely in an emotional chest.
Amazing.
And, that really does raise a pretty profound philosophical question, one the source material itself touches on. Well, if you could have a memory like TL's, a truly perfect recall of your entire life, but you also knew you had the power to build this flawless system to control it, the white room, the binders, the sealed chests for all the hard stuff, would you actually choose it?
Perfect memory, but with perfect control.
Or is the normal human ability to forget, to genuinely let go, to discard the painful contents of those mental chests without needing to lock them away, is that the greater blessing? Is forgetting, perhaps, more protective for our minds in the long run?
Control versus oblivion. That's definitely something to think about. Whether perfect recall, even controlled recall, is truly desirable. Well, if you want to explore these ideas, the architecture of memory, mental time travel,
Fun.
hypermnesia further, we absolutely recommend checking out the original research in Neurocase. It's truly mind-bending stuff.